Hey, everybody, and welcome to Hashtag No Limits. I'm your host, Shelley Kino, and Hashtag No Limits is about people that society has placed limits upon, but they have busted through those limits. Ophelia says in Hamlet that we know who we are, but not who we will be. And I believe that there is no greater example of that than the caterpillar turning into the butterfly. The caterpillar literally dissolves into its cells and reforms as a butterfly. And then the butterfly has to struggle to get out of the cocoon in order for its wings to be strong enough to fly and be the beautiful creature that we see. And in our society, if we can have people supporting us, we are able to bust through limits even greater than when we're not having someone supporting us. And my guest today is Michael, also known as Skippy. And he is a hero to many, a father of two, and a husband of one. Welcome. Can I call you Skippy? Is that okay?
Sure, you can.
Okay.
Everybody else does.
Well, I like to be like the crowd sometimes. So tell us a little bit more. What do I mean when I say you're a hero to many?
Oh, I don't. I think you're getting at my job.
Yep.
I don't know about that, but I do what I do because that's what I was good at. Just like you're good at what you do, so you're a hero as well. I think
Oh, thank
everybody's
you.
a hero at everything they do. But I'm a paramedic here in the city of Breeze. Been here for 20 years and been doing it for 30. So, yeah, been at it a long time.
Yeah, and I've been on a couple of ambulance rides with you, or had a loved one in the ambulance that you've been driving. So that's why you're my hero, because you have gotten my loved one safely to where they needed to be, and gotten the care that they needed from that point forward. But tell us about you, and tell us about a little bit more about you and about your family.
um, I've been married for 22 years to my wife, Debbie, beautiful wife, Debbie. I have an older daughter, Morgan, who is 20, just turned 20. I can't believe that. And
We're
then
too young. We can't have children that old.
I know it's not fair. It's just I'm only 20. What is she?
I know, right?
She
How does
can't be
this
that
work?
old. So yeah. And then we had our little Hannah, who passed away when she was almost 7 years old, just a couple months shy of her eighth birthday. So um, we lived in Breeze my entire life, except for a couple months. I lived in Carlisle in an apartment, but born and raised here in Clinton County. And my parents are Bob and Mary Berndsen. My dad's been here in Breeze. My mom was originally from Carlisle. So good old Clinton County folks our whole
Yeah.
lives. So
And you also bring joy to a lot of people, because you get to be a DJ sometimes at wedding celebrations and things like that. So you are very well known in Clinton County for all that you have done. But I think one of the things that makes you the most well known is your experiences with Hannah. Can you tell
uh,
us about Hannah?
sorry,
Nope, you are perfectly fine.
just hearing someone else say her name is just okay. I'll get it together. Okay.
I know you will.
Um, And I'll just start from the beginning. Is
That's
that
perfect.
fair enough? I'm going to
Yep.
take my glasses off so I can wipe my eyes. Just I am very emotional. I'm a very emotional person. Been that way my whole life. Um, but Hannah was born March 25th of 2004, and shortly after she was born, I could. I mean, it's a memory that'll never go away. It's everybody's over in the little bassinet with the warmer in the delivery room, and you could just see things were not 100% normal. They weren't totally worried, but you could tell
Mhm.
something wasn't quite right. But she was born. She was a big baby. She had a high hematocrit. She was jaundice. So, and I think that's what they were originally concerned about. They just saw her color was just not the normal color of
Mhm.
a delivery. And shortly thereafter, they made the decision that we need to go to Children's Hospital. We took her to Children's by the NICU team, the Children's Transport team, which is fantastic. She has gone more than once by that means. And over there, she was in the NICU for several days. And even when we were there, I kind of noticed her eyes fluttering a little bit, and we questioned whether she was having seizures. And they're like, "Oh no, we don't think she is. Everything's going well." So we came home, had the little Billy blanket, which is the ultraviolet light that gets rid of some of that jaundice. And as she got older, we still, I say older because she wasn't really that old. In the next couple months, we still noticing that fluttering of her eyes. And we had been in and out of the hospital. You know, we were thinking she was having seizures, could never really catch one in front of a healthcare professional. And I can remember us being at Children's in one of the rooms, and she started to have one. And I remember Debbie bolting out of the room, grabbing the nearest doctor she could find, and literally drug her by the arm and said, "Come see this now." And she brought her in, and she says, "Yep, you guys are right. She's having seizures." So that's kind of where our journey begun. And this was 3 months later. So she's 3 months old at this point in time. And she hadn't been reaching milestones as well as she should. She was reaching some milestones, but just kind of fell behind, was falling further behind. And then we got the diagnosis that she was having seizures. So then the whole gamut of EEGs and hospital stays. And so she was eventually diagnosed with epilepsy and cerebral palsy. Um, Hannah never did speak. Hannah was always wheelchair bound. She never did stand except for in the stander, which, if anybody's out there with special needs children that don't walk, they put them in standers to get some muscle tone in their legs and different things. So that was the only time we ever saw her upright. But the room that I'm in now, I chose this room. Our Christmas trees behind us is because this was Hannah's therapy room. And we did make it our TV room because this is where Hannah spent most of her time. And at that point in time, we had the raw walls bright red. We had a ball pit in the corner. We had soft stepping blocks and different things that we could lean her over. And we had so much help from just different physical therapist assistants. I'm not even going to mention their names because there were so many of them. But those therapists were the ones that ended up being on the fundraising board for when we started Hannah's Playground after Hannah passed away. So let me now. Sorry, I'm jumping around.
No, you're fine.
So as she got older, she started to have more and more seizures, more and more often. At one point in time, she was probably having 30 seizures a day. So I can remember coming home. Hannah was still in daycare. Daycare took great care of her. Had to call the ambulance a couple times because of seizures, and a couple of times I was on that ambulance, which was difficult. Um, uh,
You're okay. You take the time you need.
you don't real. So
No, I want
sorry.
you to finish that thought. You started to say, "I don't realize," I think. And I want you to finish that thought because I'm sure you're correct. Whatever you were about to say, "I don't realize," I think that needs to be said.
How much you miss her, even when things were bad, even when she was sick.
Yeah,
I would take them times back.
I'm sure. Yeah. And I'm going to talk for a second and let you gather yourself. That I didn't know exactly what you were going to say, but what I want people to understand that are watching this that don't have a child with special needs, and you think, oh, their life must be so tough or so difficult, and that maybe they would have been better off without that person in their life. And I want
No.
you to understand that is the farthest thing from the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. And that we'll talk more about that as we get closer to as the
Yeah.
story
Right.
portrays, because we had difficult decisions to make at the end, obviously.
Right.
And so I can remember coming home from work one day, and we used to have our computer in the basement, and looking for Debbie, and Debbie's car's home. And Debbie turns, she said, "I made a life changing decision today without you." And I like, oh no, she's leaving me. She's out the door. That's
You
exactly
finally realized
that
it.
is exactly what I thought. And she says, I quit. I quit work. I'm going to stay home with Hannah.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, well, I'm okay with that. So that's how, that was a big, obviously financial decision. And she didn't need me to help her make that decision. She knew what we were getting called to and from work so many times anyway. It was not fair to our employers at that point in time. So to have someone home with Hannah, Debbie, I don't ever think gets the credit she deserves, because, like as you said, I am pretty well known through the DJ business, through the ambulance service here in Breeze, and I was in Carlisle before I was here in Breeze for 9 years. So a lot of people do know me, but they never really got to know Debbie, because here I am. I'm the talker, and she's kind of quiet, but
Hmm.
she's done more for our family than anybody has ever noticed. It has gone unnoticed because
Yeah.
she's so quiet about it, and I'm just not a quiet person. So, I'll scream from the rooftops. So,
Yeah. I'm going to
and
share
then
a comment with
I'll cry in between the times that I'm screaming from the rooftop. So
I'm going to
it's
share
just
a
like,
comment with you, and I'm just going to warn you ahead of time. It will probably tear you up. Um, this is when you were talking about Hannah and the daycare, and um, I presume this is someone who worked there at the time, and she says, we loved her as siblings.
yep, they did.
And
They were
that,
always there. They still are. We still, anybody that's ever taken care of her still keeps in contact. Crystalline was one.
Mhm.
I don't have my glasses on, so I can't read what it says. Or,
Yeah,
but Jerry Detmer was another one. There were so many that that I think probably still work there. Some of them probably still do work there,
yeah,
and they see us and they always talk to us and they ask us how we're doing, and that just is just that's Hannah. That's not me being well. No, that was
right.
all Hannah.
Yeah,
And the playground. We'll get into that when we start talking about the playground. But you know, it wasn't our idea for the playground. It was Angie Wibbles had this whole idea,
oh, I didn't know
and
that.
yeah. So she wrote a thesis on for her physical therapy degree, and it was about bringing a handicap accessible playground. At that point in time, that's what she wrote the paper about.
Right.
And her professor said, "You should try to go do this." And so she got a committee together, and they tried to raise some money, tried to get some things going, and it just kind of stalled. And then I was at my first city council meeting after Hannah died, and they were there pitching the idea to the city of Breeze to see if they would donate some property
Oh, wow.
for the playground to go in. Well, I followed her right out with her and her sister Beth, and I said, "Hey, I don't know if you know me, but there Hannah had a lot of support, for." And that what I was talking about with our entire community got together and bought us a van when
Yeah.
Hannah was too big to put in a regular car anymore. So,
Oh,
and we can
wow.
go back to that, but that I just wanted to make sure I didn't forget about Angie and Beth. So because it was Angie's idea, but Hannah brought everybody together to make it possible. So, it's kind of a 50-50,
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
Hannah and Beth, or Hannah and Angie and Beth, they just wonderful people. So,
Oh,
and
that's
that's why
awesome.
we have what we have now. So,
Yeah. And you're right. We'll get to that in a little bit. So
yeah.
let's go back. So
Okay.
Debbie came home, and her life changing decision was to stay with you.
Stay at home.
But it was to
Yes.
also stay at home.
We're still married. So she, quit work, stayed at home. Hannah's needs got more and more demanding. So that ended up being just truly the only decision that was made, and that was before things got demanding. It was started having a lot of respiratory. We were probably um, in the hospital at least 3 months of every year.
Wow.
Some in the just a regular respiratory floor, some on the neurology floor, some at the end was almost always the PICU in the ICU. Um, she ended up getting a lot of, besides the seizures and the epilepsy, she had a lot of respiratory issues. So in October come around, just like we're all going through right now, we've been through this with Hannah, just a different virus,
Right.
Um, so any virus that she would get, whether it be a cold or a little bacterial infection, anything, would just send her over the top, and she would just, her lungs were just affected immensely. So we ended up getting a vest, a percussion vest. If anybody's ever seen it, it's called the vest. It's made by Hill-Rom, and it's a vest that goes on two air hoses, comes in, and it literally just shakes her, and it
Wow.
beats her lungs clear. They use a lot of it for cystic fibrosis.
Hmm.
A lot of cystic fibrosis patients uses that, and it worked well. We did it 4 times a day, and breathing treatments 4 times a day. She ended up needing a feeding tube. So we did. So she couldn't take anything by mouth. Although we still worked on it with our therapist, you never gave up on any of that.
Right.
Um, it just it's so hard to think back of every little thing was so different every day.
Right.
Some days were good days, some days were bad days, some days were okay days. Um, but I swear Deb should have just been a nurse by the time she was done, because she knew more medical terminology, more medical procedures than anything. I mean, Hannah had eye surgery. She had the Nissen fundoplication to keep from acid reflux. There was just, all that stemmed back to the cerebral palsy, and just the weak muscle tone. And I can remember them wanting to do a brain biopsy. And this goes back to whether you have her here and go through difficult times, what's better or not. It's always better to have them here,
Yeah.
100%. But they want to do a brain biopsy, and the first question we ask, well, if we do a brain biopsy, what will that change in her treatment? Well, they said really nothing, because the damage has already been done. Whatever caused it, we'll just know what caused it.
Okay.
Well, we weren't willing to put
Right.
her through that
Right.
just to find an answer. Yeah, we would love to have answers, but not at the expense of
Right.
comfort and uh, other complications that infection from the where they do the
Right.
biopsy. There's all kinds.
Right.
Every
Right.
time you do a procedure, there's going to be,
Yep.
and we just didn't want to take that risk. So we lived every day with Hannah as best we could. I can remember. We'll go kind of to the wheelchair. Before she actually had a wheelchair, we literally used a running stroller. So we made things work.
Right.
And we put her in a car seat till we just couldn't put her in a car seat anymore. Um, I can remember very few vacations did we go on, just because all the equipment it took to go on, but we did go. We went to Indiana, and we saw there was a Bob the Builder exhibit at the Children's Museum there, and a gal came up to us, said, "Sorry, there's no strollers." Oh, you want to
Oh.
talk about blowing a top? Whew. I'm
Right.
like, this is not a stroller, and I should have known. She didn't know Hannah. We're not in Clinton County anymore. So,
Right.
but I said, this is not a stroller. She says, well, sir, it is a stroller. Well, that's when I really lost it. I said, well, she's handicapped. She's disabled. She says she can't walk. She's too big at that point in time to just carry around.
Right.
And then I said, I need to talk to your supervisor. I was good at asking for a supervisor
Yeah.
as she got older.
You're the
So
female Karen. Yeah. Let me
yeah,
talk to the manager.
yeah. So they came over. I said, listen, it looks like a stroller, but it's not a stroller. This is our means to get her around. And then calmer heads prevailed, and we were
Right.
able to take the stroller in. So,
Yeah.
but people don't understand those that don't deal with, a disability or anything that with that extra equipment being, they see it and they freak out and this is our rules. Well,
Right.
yeah, we want to follow rules, but we were just asking to bend them just a little bit, So we
Right.
got it worked out. That's,
But
and then
I'm glad you brought that story up, because that is, another reason for this is that was a limitation that was attempted to be put on because it was a stroller, and that was your way of making what you mentioned the other day when you were, I don't remember if it was Friday with Fran or if it was last week when you were watching, and you said you just wanted to be treated as normal as possible.
right.
And, that was just another thing that, like you said, this person at the check-in desk was like, these are the rules. I have to follow the rules. This is, my job depends on me following the rules. But being able to understand that rules are rules for a reason, but sometimes there have to be exceptions.
Right.
And, just to let you have the experience with Hannah that anybody else going in there would have had.
And we got pictures with her wearing the Bob the Builder hat in that same stroller.
Right.
So we made it work. We, like I said, calmer heads. I'm a hothead. I should have had red hair. I should have. But that's the other thing I did want to bring up. And I'll probably cry through this. Don't forget to take pictures.
Yeah. Yeah. And I meant to say that to you ahead of time, that I could be sharing pictures through this. I didn't know if you'd ever noticed that before, that I can share pictures through this format. So if you would want me to jump to your Facebook page.
Oh, you certainly can. Yeah. If you can find them. Yeah.
Okay.
But because here's what I wanted to bring up is I am always on my Facebook. I am addicted to it. And because I don't want people to forget Hannah.
Yeah. And I guarantee you that we won't. However,
and all I have is the pictures that we do have. So because you don't get any new ones. You'll never get any new ones.
Right.
Because she's gone. Well, I take that back. She's gone, but she is still here.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, she will.
You look around our house. She's, we got things all the time, Oh, and the Marie. I told you not to let me forget the Marie story.
Right.
Marie was just in front of me here. Normally, I don't have enough room that she can hop up here. But Marie showed up the day Hannah passed away. As a very skinny little kitten in the backyard. And I went back there, and we just had some new neighbors move in who are very good friends of ours now. And I said, "Hey, Cassie," I said, "Are you missing a cat?" And she kind of, "No, that cat's been around here since this morning and no one could catch it." Well, I bent over and that cat came right up to me.
Oh, wow.
Well, I brought it up to the house because I was in the middle of the yard. Well, then Morgan opened the sliding glass door and says, "Oh, a kitten." And I said, "Go get some milk." So, and I didn't realize you weren't supposed to feed kittens milk.
It's what we all think, yeah.
So that's what I did. And Morgan gets mom, Debbie. Debbie comes, says, "Oh, good," brought the cat in. The cat's been inside ever since. So if Marie walks by here while we're on here, I'll pick up the phone and I'll show you Marie. But we've had Marie since day one that Hannah left. Marie has come into our life. So
that's amazing. So I have found some pictures, but before I hop over there, so this is something from Tommy Hagen, and she says reasonable accommodations are so necessary.
Yes.
And then she also posted that Hannah is thought of so often. Her children love to hear her story when we stop at the playground.
Yeah, we've had people, and I love it. So if you want to do it and share it to my wall, if you have your kids and you don't mind it being on Facebook, take pictures, send them to me on my Facebook wall. Because we go by there, and instead of all the tears, we see happy faces, and that's Hannah smiling.
Right. Yeah. And I know this is, we're jumping a little ahead a bit, but when Hannah passed, there was a new saying that occurred, and I had never heard it before. But you all say, instead of rest in peace, RIP, you all say RAP,
Run and play. That
run
was
and
my
play.
sister, Mara, came up
Yeah.
with that. So,
So I'm going to share and then unshare, just because not all of your pictures of Hannah, so I don't want to share pictures of other events that are going on that you don't want me to share. So, so you just keep talking, and I'm just going to pop pictures up every so often, and we'll keep going from there.
Yeah. So we'll just, I'll kind of go from, she's now, I guess I talked about the Nissen fundoplication and the feeding tube and the vest and just all the medicine. So the hospital stays got more and more frequent. You would say that we would be in a couple weeks at a time, and then only be home for a couple months, then in a couple of weeks. And as she got older, that got to be months at a time, home for months, and then in for months at a time again. We kind of had two very similar, her last two stays were very similar. We talked about having to uh, put a breathing tube in. And the second to last time she was in the hospital, we went to, it was St. Patrick's Day. And my Debbie's Aunt Lucy came to watch Hannah for us. And Morgan and Debbie and I went to the St. Patrick's Day parade. And she was on BiPAP a lot. And that's when they were considering intubating her. And we went to the St. Patrick's Day parade, and we got pictures of Morgan. And you don't ever forget about your other kids. I know it's hard, but we had my mom and dad. I don't know what we would ever.
Yeah. Parents are very, very important, most definitely.
Morgan spent a lot of time with them. Not a lot of time, but when Morgan needed a place to go, we knew we had my mom and dad.
Right. Yeah.
So we kind of used them. Oh, I'm supposed to go. Hi, Mom. I'm on TV. But I never had to worry about it. My mom and
Right.
dad were going to be there for me, for Debbie, for Morgan, for Hannah. They would come over a lot, when we weren't in the hospital. If Hannah was crying, my dad would go pick up Hannah and say, "Hey, let's go for a walk, Hannah." And he would take her to our front door, and she would just, as soon as he would pick her up, she'd stop crying. So
Yeah.
Dad had her,
Grandpa's touch. Yep.
Papa.
Yeah.
Just amazing every time, just the way he bounced her, the way he picked her up, the tone of, I could never tell you what it was, but it worked every time.
Your mom says hi back.
Yeah, hi, Mom. But now I'll go to our last stay. Things I can remember, back to Mom and Dad. Deb and I would always switch. Deb wasn't working, and I was still putting in my days. And I have a kind of a crazy schedule. I work Monday, Tuesday. I'm off Wednesday, Thursday, and I work Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then the next week, I only work Wednesday, Thursday. So on my days off, I would go relieve Debbie. But instead of us driving and just switching cars, I guess they were worried about us. I'm assuming were worried about us, being exhausted. So Mom and Dad would always drive me there, me, Morgan there, switch out with Debbie, and then they would bring Debbie back. So really didn't have to do all that much driving. Mom and Dad did 80% of it.
Yeah.
So they just always looking out for us, which is still do. They still do. So I can remember, if you're as a parent, I can remember just, I guess it was just the anxiety of leaving, because I'm supposed to be the one normally with a patient, and I hated that. And on the way home, I would have such anxiety on that drive home. Me and Morgan would be in the back seat, and we'd doing the I Spy, just to keep my mind off of things. And I would just be short of breath in the back seat of the car, just horrible. until I would get home, and then it would get a little better because at least I was home with Morgan. But Morgan had a lot of time where it was just with one parent and not the other, but it was with both of us, just not at the same time.
Right.
So that always was in the back of our mind. What are we doing to Morgan? But Morgan ended up. Everybody says our kid's a great kid, but she's a great kid.
Yep, she is.
Look who's here.
Oh,
This is Marie. Yeah, Marie is Hannah's middle name. That's where we got Marie from. So Fran, if you're out there, there's my fur friends right there. So that's Marie, and if I'm home here by myself, sitting on the couch, she's always there, and that's why I said Hannah's always here.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I'm getting better at not crying.
Yeah, that's okay. You know what? Like I told you that the other day when you said you might get emotional, I'd worry about you if you didn't. I really would, because it shows how much you love her. And I want you to understand that I did not put that in the past tense on purpose, because she is always going to be your daughter. My intro, I wanted to be very particular about the fact that you are a father of two. You will always be a father of two. And speaking of parents and grandparents, this is my mom. She says, from a grandparent's view, the bond between grandparents and the grandkids is so special. We have the time to do more things with our grandkids. We are no longer working. So, yeah.
But at the time, they were working.
Oh.
My mom is still working. So.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Even better.
So, yeah, they just made the time. So,
yeah.
Wanted to make sure that I'm the baby, So, hang on. I got my pager. I got to turn off.
Okay. No problem. His job is always
Sorry
near
about
him.
that.
That's okay. I just said your job is always near you.
I didn't know if you could hear all that going on or not. So
I could hear it. I don't know that I was understanding it, which is
okay.
But we don't need to know what the emergency call is right now.
Yeah, it was just a brush fire. Nobody hurt. So
oh, good. Okay.
So yeah, where was I? Mom and Dad, Morgan. So Morgan, like Debbie, did not get a lot of credit with everything that went on with Hannah. Now Morgan was, let's say, we were having a lot of seizures when Hannah was 3. That's when we were having the 30 a day. Morgan would have been 6. Morgan, if we were in the kitchen getting stuff ready and Hannah and Morgan were in the TV room, Morgan would come in, Mom, Dad, whoever was home, Hannah's having a seizure.
Wow.
So she knew.
Right.
Excuse me. She knew she knew what was going on. She knew how to put her feeding tube together and turn the machines on and off. And she knew how to get the vest on and turn it on and off. And yeah, there's Morgan. I just saw a picture. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's fantastic. And she wants to be a veterinarian. So she will take care of maybe not people, but she will take care of living beings, and I think she will be very good at it, and I'm very proud of her no matter what she decides to do. So she didn't have to do that to make me proud, so I was already proud of her. So.
Oh, I know.
And as we are of Hannah, because like I said, Hannah is a big reason why the money was raised to build the playground. So
right.
So kids, I think I'm just going to go to the playground part because I don't know if I could get through the last stay at the hospital. That was so difficult. So,
nope.
Everybody knows that, she was, I'll go a little bit into it. She was there for 3 months, and this is probably the most difficult time of year for me because this is the time of the year that she was in. And this is why I say the pictures and why I repost pictures, because it comes up in the memories on Facebook.
Right.
But so do all the updates. We used to let everybody know what was going on, our family, our friends. It was easier to do through Facebook.
Oh,
so
yeah.
you could do it one time and not have to send out hundreds of messages,
Right.
But those updates still come back.
Yeah.
And I can't turn them off because then I don't get to see the pictures that come up that I forget
Right.
about.
Yeah.
So I have to kind of, so I would like to say I don't read them, but I do. It just reminds me of the roller coaster we were on, because there would be one day, hey, we had some good news today. Her x-rays were good, and then the
Mhm.
very next day, oh, the x-rays are bad. And it's like, wow, did we really go up and down that fast,
Yeah.
in 12 hours time,
Right.
so that's it. Just it was a it was a very difficult 3 months. So
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
I
So and then we had to make the decision, are we going to put her on a ventilator? And I know uh, there's some people out there that say, oh yeah, do it, don't do it. I'm not going to judge either way.
right.
I made my decision for Hannah and Morgan and Debbie and I and my family. And we had asked Morgan. Morgan was how old was Morgan? Morgan 7. Morgan was 10. And I can remember us being in the hotel over there, because things were getting pretty bad. Things weren't looking good. And I can remember us three laying in the king size bed at the hotel over there and explaining it to Morgan. And Morgan says, I wouldn't want to live on that machine.
Wow.
Now, she didn't make our decision for us,
Sure.
but she sure did give us insight on what a young person feels.
Yeah.
And I won't judge anybody and I don't want anybody to judge us for what
Right.
the decision. We elected to not trach her, um, uh, and put her on a breathing machine. So they said, and the biggest reason was that they said even if we do that, her lungs still may not survive. So, and
Yeah.
she would obviously not be qualified for a lung transplant. She was just too sick. So,
Yeah.
um, her lungs were literally, she passed away from respiratory failure. Really had, I would like to say it really had nothing to do with the seizures. It had nothing to do with the cerebral palsy, but it all had to do with everything.
Right.
So she just had so much pneumonia through the years. It just her lungs just couldn't take it any longer. So
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm going to share a picture of Morgan. Well, I got to figure out which screen I'm supposed to do this with. Oh, I just took you out. I didn't mean to do that. Hang on, let me try it this way. There we go.
people
Now
don't
you're
need
in
to
it.
look at me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that
go ahead.
those were family pictures. And there's another one with us sitting on a bench. I don't know if that one's
Okay.
close to there.
I'll see if I can
And
find it.
someone gave us the idea. I said, I just hate taking family pictures because Hannah's not. Oh, I know who it was. It was when we had our church directory pictures.
Oh,
And the guy said, well, next time when we do the directory, bring a picture up and hold the picture of Hannah so she'll always be in your family pictures.
oh, nice.
So we had this blanket made or given to us by Debbie's sister, Sandy, and it had all big pictures of Hannah. So we took that blanket out there the same day we took that one that Morgan's on the Hannah sign,
Hmm.
and Hannah's in all of our family pictures. So
That's awesome. This is not that picture. I'm still searching for it, but I did want to share. Well, come on, there it is. I did want to share your three girls.
yep.
Got Debbie, Morgan, and Hannah there. Um, how old was Hannah at this time?
Oh, at that time, I would say she's 4 or 5.
That's
It's
kind of what
hard
I was
to
thinking,
it's hard to
like 3 or
remember
4.
exactly when that was.
Yeah.
I got to go by Debbie's hairstyle and hair color.
Or you could have looked at Morgan's age and, done the math that way too.
Yeah, yeah. More like I said, they're 3 years apart, so Morgan looks to be about 7 years, 8 years old there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say that's probably a good guess.
Yeah, probably. I'm still looking for that picture. So keep talking about the playground.
Okay, so
Oh,
I'm gonna go back to the
the last
when
day.
I met Angie.
Okay.
So so I met Angie and Beth. They were at the presenting that, and I told that story. And so we just kind of got together. I came home, told Debbie, and I was pretty excited about it because I'm like, this is really neat. Now, this is only 2 weeks after Hannah had passed away.
Oh, wow.
So it is, very, not a lot of grieving had gone on at that point in time.
Right.
So our grieving process went from the loss to something that potentially could be life changing for a lot of people,
Right.
including us. You know, um, nothing better to take your grief and put it towards something way more positive than what just had happened.
Right.
And so that's what we did. I said, we know how to raise money. I mean, we know lots of people.
Right.
And so we got a chicken and beer dance together for the first one, and not a lot of people showed up to it, but enough to make a little money. But what really started to happen was kids started to find out, and we were getting 6, 7 year old kids that would have been classmates of Hannah, and not just classmates, but they would have birthday parties and say, I don't want a gift, I just want donations for Hannah's playground. Well, then
Right.
we'd be sitting here watching TV, and I can remember the first couple times that because it happened hundreds of times, but the
Yeah.
first couple of times, the doorbell rings, and it's this 7 year old young man or young lady, with their parents say, we have something for you. And at first we're like, what's going on? He said, well, I had a birthday party and I asked for all my gifts, instead of gifts, to be cash donations to Hannah's Playground. And they give you an envelope. Now, I'm not
Hmm.
talking an envelope with, $25 in it. I'm talking sometimes there was hundreds, $500, $600,
Wow.
$700, $1,000 at times. And this happened hundreds of times over.
Wow.
So it was almost like the virus, a good virus that spread. Let's talk about something
Right.
good. That
Yeah.
one child. I'm not saying a parent didn't say, "Hey, what about this? What do you think about doing this?" Because that probably did happen, but a kid still had to give up his gifts or
Right.
her gifts to
Yeah.
make a big gift for many to share years later.
Yeah.
And that's not where all the money was raised, but that was where the most special money was raised
Yeah.
because it came from kids. And boy, you go by there today, it's still warm enough. I bet you if you go by there, there's kids playing right now, and it's what, June or December 22nd?
Yeah.
Yeah, December
Yep.
22nd, and there's still kids playing on that playground.
Yeah.
If
Can you
it's
tell us some of
40
the
degrees
yeah.
or above, there's kids playing.
Yeah. Can you tell us some of the things that are unique about Hannah's Playground compared to Emmy? Because we've talked about it, but we haven't talked about what makes it
Yeah,
unique.
yeah, exactly. It is considered an all inclusive playground. We don't consider it a handicapped because the deal is you're supposed to be able to play with other children.
Mhm.
So whether you're in a wheelchair or not, whether you're in a walker or not, you should be able to have fun with your friends, right?
Mhm.
So as soon as you walk in, you'll notice that the surface is soft, except for the sidewalk, but the surfaces are soft and flat. It's all flat. It's not rock. It's not mulch. Um, to get up to where the slides are at, you could go up traditional steps, or there is a ramp. Even though you may not be able to take your wheelchair down, there. That's the picture. Yep.
Took me a while, but I
Um,
found it.
you're awesome. So you can go up there, and there's the ramps are there. You could have your parent take you up there, and you could get out of the wheelchair and actually go down the slide, and then move the wheelchair back down, or just go up and watch your other friends go down the slide. And there's like crow's nest and different activities to do. There's sensory touch items that you touch them and they make noises, sirens, fire trucks, ambulance, police cars, tractors. There was all kinds of stuff. We have drums and bells for music, and that's what I actually enjoyed the best. You walk by, you see the kids playing, and you can hear. It's not music because even the bells are not necessarily all ding 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 ding. You know,
Hmm.
the tones are not
Right.
all, but the drums, the bells ringing, and maracas and shakers and all kinds of different stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and that was all. I don't want to forget unlimited play. Unlimited play was the driving force behind the actual playground. It was Angie's idea, and Angie got a hold of unlimited play, and unlimited play started with uh, the president's son was in a wheelchair, and they built the first one, and
Okay.
she created a non for profit to build more, and now they have playgrounds going up everywhere, different states. Um, just I can't even tell you how. I haven't looked at their website lately to even tell you how many there are now. But we were the first one here in Southern Illinois area to have it. I think Edwardsville might have some features that are all accessible, but not an entire playground. And I know Highland just put one in the last couple of years,
Okay.
and it started from Hannah's Playground. I
Yeah.
think I
And
can't.
yeah, and unlimited play, I believe, is somehow involved with that Spirit of Discovery Park that with the gentleman that I interviewed a few
Right.
weeks ago, Eric Westacott. Because after my interview with him, he asked me if unlimited play had been part of getting Hannah's playground, and I said,
Yeah.
I think that sounded
Yeah.
right, but it,
100%. Yeah. That they that's I still call every now and then for questions or this or that or and then also at the playground the fundraising part, it was we raised about $100,000 a year on average for 3 years, and we had it covered in 3 years. So City of Breeze, donated a lot of concrete through their TIF district, and because it was for the park. They redid the bathroom to make it all inclusive bathrooms, and they Kaskaskia College HVAC program this past summer, last summer. So last year was its first time that it had heat, so the bathroom could stay open.
oh, nice.
So they used to have to close the bathroom because when it would freeze, the water would
Sure.
freeze.
Right.
So Mark Conan is a good friend of mine. He's the professor there for the HVAC. George Evans was on board with it, and they got all the equipment donated
Very
through
cool.
Benoist Heating and Cooling. I think it's I'm not sure where they're out of, but it's Benoist, and they donated all the equipment, and then Mark and his students put it all in.
That is so
So,
awesome.
and this was years later after it's built. So it's
Right.
kind of an ongoing thing. Fallon has a little section out there that she made a wish because she enjoyed going out there, and that was her make a wish. She didn't. Her first wish was not to go to Disney World. It was to add stuff to Hannah's Playground.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that's why the section, if you go out there, the original section, the floor is green, and then they opened a section closer to the bathroom, and you'll see the tile is blue, and the found Fallon's picture is there because that was her make a wish
Wow.
wish. So they got a merry-go-round, and the merry-go-round is not elevated, so a wheelchair could roll straight onto the merry-go-round. And there's also two mommy and me swings out there where a mom sits on the one side and the child can sit on the other side, and then you swing face to face instead of just pushing your child.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, and then as far as Hannah's side goes, we have two high back swings that if someone doesn't have muscle tone, it's got the 5-point straps um, that they can swing in. We got regular traditional swings. Um, some stuff is traditional, and then some stuff like the slides. Um, the roller slide, it doesn't conduct static electricity. So kids with cochlear implants,
Oh,
static electricity messes with those cochlear implants. So the roller slide does not conduct. Have you ever been on a plastic slide? You go down
uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and your hair stands up like at the
Right.
magic house, right?
Right.
So we do have the plastic slide out there as well, but we also have the roller slide that doesn't conduct the static electricity. So,
That's
and
awesome.
that had nothing to do with Debbie or I. That was Unlimited Play knew all about that with the companies that they deal with to get the right equipment for the right application. So,
Right. That's
yeah,
awesome. See, that's just more limits that are being taken away
yes,
for everybody. And I want to show you. So I got to go back a few comments just so that to make sure that you see them. So when I was showing pictures of Hannah, she's a beautiful young. Oh, I'm sorry. No, this was when I was showing pictures of Morgan. She's a beautiful young lady. And then the next comment was, "You have a beautiful family." And then we have this one that says, it is one of our children's most favorite places, from just having fun and making memories to having therapy there when my kids needed it. And that's from Crystal Lynn.
yeah.
Um,
I can remember them guys coming out when we were building it. They were there for the community build, and that was the other thing. It was a community build. The city of Breeze did a lot of the digging and dirt work, concrete, but as far as putting some of the stuff together, people came from all over. And when I say all over, it wasn't just Breeze. It's in Breeze, but it was not done just by Breeze. I mean, from New Baden to Centralia, there was donations and help always given.
yeah.
It didn't seem like everybody knew who Hannah was by the time it was done.
Right. Yeah. And, when I've driven past the park there, I feel like I rarely see people playing on the older section where they have, the playground. It seems like everyone always seems to be in the section where Hannah's playground is, because
Yeah,
I just think it's such a wonderful playground. And like you said, it's so inclusive. Everyone can play there and everyone can have fun at. And I mean, I've gone out there. We've had family come in from out of town, and we've said, "Hey, let's meet at Hannah's playground," because you have the pavilion that is very near, or actually kind of, I think it's sort of attached to the playground now, right?
it is. Yeah,
And so we
it's
we
hard
said,
to reserve that pavilion, by the way, too.
yeah,
Yeah, I've tried to reserve. Oh, that weekend's taken. Oh, that weekend's taken. Oh, that weekend's taken.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
glad it is too.
yeah. I've seen, yeah, I've
That makes me happy. So
driven past there and seen birthday parties going on, or some sort of
yeah, we
celebration
had
going on.
Morgan's high school graduation out there just so
Yeah.
Hannah could be involved.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
that is so wonderful. Well, we have, because I never go over an hour, or I try not to go over an hour. So we have about 8 minutes, 7.5 minutes. So, what would you want someone going through your situation to know?
Don't be afraid to ask for help. I'm going to go back. I don't think we really hit on the van very much,
No, not really. It was just sort
but
of a blip.
that was put. Yeah, that okay. Hannah started to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and she obviously couldn't sit in a chair in the car. So the car seat got too small
Right.
because she didn't stop growing. So my buddy Randy Voss, who I DJ with, says you need to have a fundraiser and get a van. I'm like, no, I ain't doing that. I'm not asking for help. Well, he got a whole committee together. Randy, Tim, Schlaper, Tim and Carrie Bulk, Keith and Jennifer Wimpy. If I forget anybody, just know that I'm on the spot and I can't. It's just all my friends. I mean, and they got together and said, "Hey, by the way, we're having a meeting and you got to be there." And I went over there, and there all my friends were, and said, "We're doing this, whether you want it or not." And we had it on the day before Thanksgiving, and everybody knows that's a big party night. Well, it got to be so big that they had to get tents outside the Breeze Legion
Oh my gosh.
to put all the auction items in, so there would be room inside to actually have people.
Oh my gosh.
So they raised enough money for the van, and and this goes back to when you were talking to the attorney, I can't remember his name, I'm sorry,
That's
about
okay.
the
Eric.
trust. And they put the rest in a trust for us, and just to protect us, Debbie and I, from people going, oh, what do you do with all that money?
Right.
They put it in the
Right.
trust, and they had 3 trustees. And then when we wanted to buy something for Hannah, those 3 trustees had to
Oh,
approve that.
that's fantastic.
Yes. So it took the stigma off of Debbie and I of, oh, you're just blowing money.
Right.
So we bought a stander and um, some of the stuff that just wasn't covered by insurance, that our therapist said this would really benefit her. The ball
Right.
pit. I think they did. They ended up putting a remote start on the van, so it would be warm for when Hannah got in it. They felt that that was necessary. So there was just a lot of stuff that they covered
Yeah.
above the amount for that van. But I went into that night going, I don't know what is going to happen. I walked in, the place was shoulder to shoulder by 8 o'clock, and it was overwhelming
Yeah.
in a good way.
Yeah. That's
I was
so awesome.
embarrassed that I had to ask for help, but it was overwhelming, the people that are out there that want to help people.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to talk about on the news and Facebook and how bad people are, all the negative stuff. There's a lot of good that goes on in this world. Don't
It
you
really is.
just look around, look real hard, and try not to look at negative and look at some of the positive things. It's still going on. There's still positive stuff going on.
There is. And that's a
Keep,
great point, because especially where we are, we, this community, and I mean our county at large,
yeah.
has rallied for many situations. Not just Hannah's Playground, but
Yeah,
dozens.
kids, adults, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Yeah, someone
Yeah.
needs it, they're going to get it from Clinton County. So
Yeah. And I hope that would be the case all around the world, and especially all around our country, but I know it's not. So we are very blessed where we are, that we are around a lot of generous and kind people. I've had people reach out to me that have seen this, or through my education consultant business, and it terribly breaks my heart to hear some of the things that go on. And we have great schools here too. I didn't, and I've never said this, but I'm gonna put this caveat out there, that I didn't start becoming an education consultant and master IEP coach because I thought our schools were doing a poor job here in our county. It was because of how great our schools are, that I wanted other people in other places to have that same experience. Not that our schools are perfect, but we certainly, I feel, are above and beyond.
We've been through many IEPs with Hannah, and we made the decision that it was best that we had teachers come here because of she was so exposed.
Right.
And Hannah never did speak a word, but she taught us everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Michael, I've got to wrap up. I could sit and talk to you, and maybe some other time we will have you back on and give you more opportunity to share, because there were a couple things that I wanted to talk to you about as far as your involvement with Special Olympics, and being an EMT, and kind of some things that maybe you have seen in that regard as far as dealing with people with special needs, and how they're handled and treated. So I hope someday, if you're up to it, that you would be willing to come back on. I have so enjoyed hearing the wonderful things. I never had the chance to get to know Hannah, and I'm so thankful that you came on today to share about her. I knew her life was beautiful, not because I knew you, but because so many people had shared with me about her. And I can't thank you enough for being here today. And for anybody watching, for those of you who commented today and joined in our conversation, thank you so much for that. If you are watching the replay of this, please hit like, please share this. The more people that we can reach, the better for all of us. Merry Christmas, Michael, and please extend that to Deb and Morgan as well. Thank
Will
you so
do.
much. Bye-bye.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks.